Father and 15-year-old daughter vanished from Joshua Tree Desert Campsite in 2012. Telescope still pointed at stars, but both David and Emma were gone without any trace. Wait, what they found 12 years later embedded in rock formation that predates human existence will make you question everything you think you know about this mystery. David Martinez had been looking forward to this camping trip for months. His daughter Emma was about to start her senior year of high school, and after that, college applications, scholarships, and eventually leaving home for university. Time was running out for the kind of father-daughter bonding they'd shared when she was younger. Emma had inherited her father's passion for astronomy. As a NASA engineer, David had spent his career studying the cosmos, and some of his fondest memories were of teaching Emma to identify constellations when she was small. But teenage life had pulled her in different directions. Friends, social media, part-time jobs, and the endless pressure of preparing for college. "Dad, I'm too old for camping trips," Emma had protested when David first suggested their Joshua Tree adventure in the summer of 2012. But when he mentioned they'd be there during the Perseid meteor shower, her scientific curiosity won out. "Fine," she'd agreed with the dramatic sigh only teenagers could master. "But I'm bringing my star charts, and you're letting me use the good telescope." David couldn't have been happier. Emma was growing into a brilliant young woman with her own dreams of studying astrophysics in college. This trip felt like a chance to connect with her one last time before she stepped fully into adulthood. They arrived at Joshua Tree National Park on a Friday evening in mid-August. The desert landscape was alien and beautiful. Massive rock formations rising from sandy ground, twisted Joshua trees reaching toward the enormous sky, and silence so profound it seemed to have weight. "It's like being on another planet," Emma observed as they set up camp among the iconic boulder formations. Despite her initial reluctance, David could see her falling under the desert's spell. "That's why I chose this place," David smiled, assembling his professional-grade telescope while Emma arranged her star charts on their camp table. "The light pollution here is minimal, and the atmospheric conditions are perfect for observation." Their campsite was in a remote area of the park, surrounded by massive granite boulders that created natural privacy. The nearest other campers were over a mile away, giving them ideal conditions for serious astronomy work. Emma spent the first evening reacquainting herself with the telescope's controls. "I forgot how complicated this thing is," she laughed, adjusting the eyepiece focus. "But wow, I can see Saturn's rings." David watched his daughter's face light up as she rediscovered her childhood wonder at the cosmos. "That's what I love about astronomy," he told her. "No matter how old you get, seeing Saturn for the first time through a telescope still feels like magic." They stayed up until nearly 2 a.m. that first night, tracking planets and deep space objects across the desert sky. Emma took detailed notes in a journal she'd brought specifically for the trip, recording their observations with the precision of a true scientist. "Dad, thank you for making me come," she said as they finally headed to their tent. "I didn't realize how much I missed this." David felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the desert air. This was exactly what he'd hoped for. A chance to share his passion with his daughter and maybe influence her decision about college majors. Saturday was devoted to exploring the park's geological features during the day and preparing for the meteor shower that night. Emma was fascinated by the rock formations, many of which had been shaped by millions of years of wind and weather. "These boulders are mostly granite," David explained as they hiked among the massive stones. "They formed underground about 175 million years ago, then were pushed to the surface by tectonic activity." Emma ran her hands over the smooth rock surfaces, marveling at their age. It's crazy to think these rocks were here before dinosaurs, before anything we'd recognize as life on Earth. And they'll be here long after we're gone, David agreed. It puts things in perspective, doesn't it? Our problems seem pretty small when you're standing next to something that's been here for 175 million years. That evening, they prepared carefully for the meteor shower observation. David set up his telescope on a sturdy tripod, positioning it for optimal viewing of the Perseid constellation where the meteors would appear to originate. Emma arranged her star charts and prepared her journal for recording their observations. The Perseids peak tonight, David explained as darkness fell. We could see up to 100 meteors per hour if conditions are perfect. And conditions were perfect. The desert sky was crystal clear, with no moon to interfere with their observations. As full darkness settled over Joshua Tree, the Milky Way became visible as a ghostly river of light stretching across the heavens. "Dad, look!" Emma called out around 10 p.m., pointing toward the northeast sky. A brilliant streak of light flashed across the stars, followed quickly by another. For the next 3 hours, they watched one of nature's most spectacular shows. Meteors blazed across the sky in all directions, some leaving glowing trails that lingered for several seconds. Emma filled page after page of her journal with observations, times, and sketches of the most spectacular fireballs. "This is the best meteor shower I've ever seen," she told David around 1 a.m. "I'm definitely applying to astronomy programs now. I want to study this professionally." David felt a surge of pride and joy. This trip was accomplishing everything he'd hoped for, and more. Emma was reconnecting with her love of science, and they were sharing an experience they'd remember for the rest of their lives. "Let's observe for another hour," Emma suggested, checking her watch. "The shower should still be active, and I want to get a complete data set." David agreed, though he was getting tired. They continued their observations, with Emma calling out meteor sightings, while David tracked them through the telescope and recorded their apparent magnitudes. Around 2:30 a.m., Emma noticed something unusual. "Dad, look at that star pattern," she said, pointing to a section of sky near the constellation Cassiopeia. "Those stars seem brighter than they should be." David turned the telescope toward the area Emma had indicated. What he saw made him adjust the focus several times, thinking his eyes were playing tricks on him. "That's not right," he muttered, staring through the eyepiece. "Those stars are definitely brighter than normal, and they seem to be moving." Emma looked through the telescope herself. "Dad, stars don't move like that, and they definitely don't pulse with different colors." What they were observing defied astronomical explanation. A group of stars that should have been faint points of light were pulsing with brilliant colors, red, blue, green, and white, in patterns that seemed almost rhythmic. "Maybe it's some kind of atmospheric phenomenon," David suggested, though he sounded uncertain. "Temperature inversions can cause strange optical effects." But as they watched, the pulsing lights began to move more deliberately, forming geometric patterns against the star field. Emma grabbed her journal and began sketching what they were seeing, her hand moving quickly to capture the impossible display. "Dad, this isn't atmospheric," she said, her voice filled with excitement and fear. "Those lights are responding to each other. They're forming patterns, triangles, circles, straight lines. It's like they're communicating." David felt a chill that had nothing to do with the desert night air. In his years as a NASA engineer, He'd studied every known astronomical phenomenon. What they were witnessing wasn't in any textbook. The light display continued for nearly an hour, with the mysterious objects performing increasingly complex maneuvers against the star field. Emma documented everything, filling several pages with detailed sketches and time-stamped observations. Then, around 3:30 a.m., the lights began to descend. What had appeared to be stars millions of miles away were suddenly much closer, hovering perhaps a few hundred feet above their campsite. The objects were clearly not natural. They appeared to be some kind of craft, glowing with the same pulsing colors Emma had observed through the telescope. "Dad, what do we do?" Emma whispered, her scientific excitement now mixed with genuine fear. David felt the protective instincts of a father warring with the curiosity of a scientist. "We document everything," he said, though his voice was shaking. "Whatever this is, we need to record it." The craft continued to descend until they were hovering directly over the campsite. David could see that there were 3 of them, each about the size of a small aircraft, but moving with impossible silence and grace. Emma continued sketching frantically, trying to capture details of the craft's structure and the patterns of their lights. "Dad, I think they're scanning us," she said. "Look at those beams of light." Thin streams of colored light were indeed emanating from the craft, playing over their campsite and equipment. When the beams touched the telescope, the instrument began to glow with the same pulsing colors as the craft themselves. "Emma, get behind me," David said, stepping protectively in front of his daughter. But even as he spoke, he realized the lights weren't threatening. They felt almost curious, exploratory. The scanning continued for several minutes, with the beams of light examining everything in their campsite, their tent, their equipment, their camp chairs, and finally, David and Emma themselves. When the light touched Emma, she gasped. "Dad, I can feel it. It's warm, and it's like it's reading my thoughts." David felt the same sensation when the beam reached him, a gentle warmth that seemed to penetrate not just his body, but his mind. For a moment, he experienced a flood of images and sensations that weren't his own. Vast star fields seen from impossible distances, worlds with purple skies and silver oceans, civilizations that had mastered travel between dimensions. And underlying it all was a sense of ancient intelligence, curiosity about Earth and its inhabitants, and something that felt remarkably like benevolent interest in human scientific development. The scanning ended as suddenly as it had begun. The beams of light retracted, and the 3 craft began to rise back toward the stars. But they weren't leaving alone. As the craft ascended, David felt an irresistible pull, not physical, but something deeper. The intelligence behind the lights was extending an invitation, offering to share knowledge that humanity wasn't ready for, but that he and Emma, with their passion for astronomy and their bond as father and daughter, might be able to understand. "Dad, they want us to come with them," Emma said, her voice filled with wonder rather than fear. "They're offering to show us things no human has ever seen." David felt the same invitation, the same overwhelming desire to accept, but his paternal instincts fought against it. "Emma, we can't. This is too dangerous. We don't know where they want to take us." "But Dad, think about what we could learn. Think about what we could bring back to Earth." The craft waited, hovering perhaps 1,000 feet above their campsite as David struggled with the most difficult decision of his life. As a scientist, The opportunity was beyond imagining. As a father, the risk to his daughter was unacceptable. But Emma made the choice for both of them. "Dad, I'm going," she said, stepping toward the craft. "With or without you, this is the chance of a lifetime, maybe the chance of 1,000,000 lifetimes." And David realized she was right. This was exactly the kind of opportunity Emma would need if she was going to become the scientist she dreamed of being. How could he deny her the chance to be part of the greatest discovery in human history? "Together," he said, taking her hand. "Whatever happens, we face it together." The moment they made their decision, the craft descended again. But this time, instead of scanning, they emitted a different kind of light. Warm, welcoming, and somehow familiar. David and Emma felt themselves being gently lifted from the desert floor, rising toward the waiting craft with no sense of danger or fear. Emma clutched her journal tightly, determined to document whatever was about to happen. As they were drawn up into the craft, David looked back at their campsite one last time. The telescope still sat on its tripod, pointed toward the stars, surrounded by their camping equipment and the evidence of their last night on Earth. Then the craft's light enveloped them completely, and Joshua Tree National Park fell away below them as they began a journey beyond anything human imagination had ever conceived. Back at the campsite, the telescope continued its automated tracking of the stars, its computer dutifully recording the passage of celestial objects across the sky. But David and Emma were no longer there to interpret the data. They had become part of something infinitely larger than Earth's scientific community, explorers of cosmic mysteries that would take them to the furthest reaches of the universe and beyond. When park rangers found their abandoned campsite 3 days later, everything was exactly as they'd left it, except for the 2 empty camp chairs positioned perfectly for sky watching, and the telescope still pointing toward the stars where father and daughter had last been seen. The investigation that followed was thorough but ultimately fruitless. David and Emma Martinez had simply vanished from a campsite in the middle of one of the most monitored national parks in the country, leaving behind no clues except Emma's journal filled with detailed observations of what investigators dismissed as atmospheric anomalies. For 12 years, their disappearance remained one of the most puzzling unsolved cases in National Park Service history. Then, in 2024, geologist Dr. Sarah Kim made a discovery that changed everything. Dr. Kim was conducting a routine survey of rock formations in the area where David and Emma had camped, studying geological changes that might affect hiking trail safety. She was examining a massive granite boulder formation when she noticed something that shouldn't have been possible. Embedded in the solid granite, about 6 feet from the ground, was what appeared to be a piece of paper. But granite formed millions of years ago, long before paper existed. The object was clearly impossible, but it was definitely there. Dr. Kim carefully extracted the embedded object using precision tools designed for geological sampling. What she found defied every scientific principle she knew. It was a page from Emma's journal, perfectly preserved inside rock that geological dating confirmed was 175 million years old. The page contained Emma's final observations from their last night at Joshua Tree, including detailed sketches of the craft they'd encountered and notes about their decision to accept the invitation to travel with the mysterious beings. But the page also contained new entries, written in Emma's handwriting but describing experiences that should have been impossible. Day 1 with the Star Travelers. Dad and I are on a ship that exists outside normal space-time. The beings who invited us are ancient explorers who study developing civilizations across the galaxy. They chose us because our bond as father and daughter mirrors their own family structures. Day 15. We visited 7 different star systems and observed the birth of 3 new planets. Dad is working with their engineers to understand propulsion systems that bend space-time. I'm studying their methods for identifying worlds where intelligence is emerging. Day 30. The star travelers have asked us to become ambassadors to Earth. They want to help humanity develop the wisdom to handle advanced technology responsibly. But first, we need to learn everything they can teach us. Day 100. We've learned to communicate across dimensional barriers. This journal page will find its way back to Earth, embedded in rock that predates human existence, as proof that our journey is real and that we're preparing to return with knowledge that will change everything. The final entry was the most remarkable. Dad and I have become part of something bigger than we ever imagined. We're not lost. We're exactly where we need to be, learning what humanity needs to know for its next phase of development. Tell everyone who searches for us that love and curiosity are the only qualifications needed for cosmic citizenship. Dr. Kim immediately contacted federal authorities, who verified the journal page's authenticity through extensive testing. The handwriting was definitely Emma's. The ink composition matched samples from her original journal entries, and the paper showed signs of having existed in the rock formation for millions of years. The implications were staggering. If Emma's journal entries were genuine, it meant that David and Emma hadn't been abducted. They'd been recruited as Earth's representatives to a galactic community of intelligent beings. The case was reopened with unprecedented resources. NASA scientists studied Emma's technical drawings of the alien propulsion systems. Anthropologists analyzed her descriptions of extraterrestrial civilizations. Physicists worked to understand how objects could be embedded in ancient rock formations. But the most important discovery came from an unexpected source. Amateur astronomers around the world began reporting unusual activity in the same area of sky where David and Emma had last been seen. Using increasingly sophisticated equipment, observers documented systematic changes in star brightness and position that suggested the presence of massive artificial structures. Dr. Michael Chen, an astrophysicist who specialized in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, analyzed the observational data and reached a stunning conclusion. What we're seeing is evidence of mega-scale engineering projects, he explained to a gathering of scientists and government officials. Someone, or something, is constructing massive structures around distant stars, using technology that's hundreds of thousands of years ahead of our current capabilities. Could this be related to the Martinez disappearance? Asked FBI investigator Sarah Rodriguez. Dr. Chen nodded grimly. The engineering signatures match descriptions in Emma's journal entries. I believe David and Emma are participating in construction projects that span multiple star systems, helping to build infrastructure for a galactic civilization we're not ready to join yet. The search for David and Emma evolved into humanity's first serious attempt to make contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence. Radio telescopes around the world were reconfigured to broadcast messages toward the areas of space where the mega-scale engineering was taking place. The response came 6 months later. Every radio telescope on Earth simultaneously received the same transmission, not in any human language, but in the universal language of mathematics and astronomy. The message contained detailed star charts showing the location of the engineering projects, technical specifications for faster-than-light communication systems, and an invitation for humanity to begin preparing for eventual contact. But embedded within the technical data was a personal message that brought tears to the eyes of everyone who worked on the case. This is Emma Martinez, reporting from the Galactic Engineering Corps. Dad and I are doing well and learning more than we ever thought possible. We're helping to build communication networks that will eventually allow Earth to join the galactic community, but humanity needs to develop wisdom and unity before that can happen safely. We think about home every day, but we know we're exactly where we need to be. Our love for each other and our curiosity about the universe qualified us for this mission, and we're honored to represent Earth among the stars. To everyone searching for us, stop looking up at the sky with sadness and start looking with hope. We're not lost. We're pioneers, preparing the way for humanity's greatest adventure. The message was signed with both David's and Emma's names, along with technical credentials indicating their positions within the Galactic Engineering Project. Over the following years, additional journal pages appeared embedded in rock formations around Joshua Tree National Park. Each one provided updates on David and Emma's progress as ambassadors to galactic civilization, along with technical knowledge that began advancing human understanding of physics, engineering, and astronomy. The journal entries revealed that David and Emma had aged slowly during their time with the Star Travelers, experiencing perhaps 1 year for every 10 Earth years. They described visiting hundreds of worlds, studying dozens of alien civilizations, and gradually taking on leadership roles within the galactic community. But most importantly, they described their ongoing work to prepare Earth for eventual contact, identifying potential human ambassadors, studying Earth's political and social development, and working to ensure that first contact would benefit rather than traumatize human civilization. Joshua Tree National Park became an unofficial center for the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. The exact campsite where David and Emma had vanished was designated as a scientific research station, with powerful telescopes and radio equipment monitoring the skies for signs of their ongoing work. Emma's original journal, recovered from their abandoned campsite, became one of the most studied documents in scientific history. Her detailed observations of the craft she'd encountered provided the foundation for humanity's understanding of advanced propulsion systems and dimensional travel. The telescope David had left behind was preserved exactly as he'd positioned it, still pointed toward the area of sky where they'd made their first contact. On clear nights, visitors to the site reported seeing unusual star patterns in that same region, lights that pulsed with familiar colors and moved in formations that suggested ongoing construction projects spanning impossible distances. The case that had begun as a missing persons investigation evolved into humanity's first confirmed contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. David and Emma Martinez hadn't been victims of an alien abduction. They'd been chosen as Earth's first cosmic ambassadors, selected for their love of science, their bond as father and daughter, and their willingness to sacrifice everything for the advancement of human knowledge. Today, 12 years after their disappearance, David and Emma continue their work among the stars. Their journal entries, still appearing periodically in ancient rock formations, serve as both progress reports and preparation guides for the day when Earth will be ready to join the galactic community they now help to govern. The Joshua Tree Desert, where their journey began, remains a place of pilgrimage for scientists and dreamers who look up at the night sky and wonder what lies beyond our small blue planet. And sometimes, on nights when the stars seem especially bright, visitors report hearing the distant sound of a father teaching his daughter about the wonders of the cosmos, a lesson that now encompasses not just our solar system, but the entire universe. Their love of astronomy had brought them together for one last camping trip before Emma left for college. Instead, it had launched them on a journey that would take them further than any human had ever traveled, turning a father-daughter bonding experience into humanity's first step toward becoming a spacefaring civilization. The telescope still points toward the stars, waiting for the day when David and Emma will return to Earth, not as missing persons finally found, but as ambassadors bringing the keys to humanity's cosmic future. But that day came sooner than anyone expected. On the 15th anniversary of their disappearance, in August 2027, the night sky above Joshua Tree began to change in ways that made headlines around the world. Dr. Michael Chen, now director of the Joshua Tree Extraterrestrial Research Station, was conducting routine observations when his equipment detected massive gravitational anomalies approaching Earth's solar system. Whatever was causing the disturbances was larger than anything in recorded astronomical history. We're seeing space-time distortions that suggest the approach of artificial structures the size of small moons, Doctor. Chen reported to an emergency session of world leaders. Based on the engineering signatures, this appears to be related to the mega-scale construction projects David and Emma have been involved with. The anomalies intensified over the following weeks. Radio telescopes worldwide detected coordinated signals emanating from the approaching structures. Not random noise, but organized communications in the mathematical language that had become humanity's first form of extraterrestrial contact. But embedded within the technical specifications was a personal message that brought tears to the eyes of everyone involved in the search for David and Emma Martinez. This is David Martinez, Chief Human Ambassador to the Galactic Engineering Council. Emma and I are returning to Earth aboard the first official diplomatic vessel from the galactic community. We're bringing gifts of technology and knowledge, but more importantly, we're bringing proof that humanity is ready to join the family of intelligent species. We've spent 15 years learning about civilizations across the galaxy, and we've discovered something remarkable. Every successful spacefaring species begins their cosmic journey with the same foundation we had: love, curiosity, and the willingness to sacrifice for future generations. The message included coordinates for a landing site in Joshua Tree National Park, the exact location where they had vanished 15 years earlier. World governments worked frantically to prepare for humanity's first official extraterrestrial contact. The Joshua Tree site was designated as Earth's first diplomatic zone for interspecies relations. Dr. Chen established a global broadcast network so that every human on Earth could witness the moment when their species officially joined the galactic community. The ship that emerged from the space-time distortions was unlike anything human engineering could have conceived. As the vessel entered Earth's atmosphere, it began to glow with the same pulsing colors that David and Emma had observed during their first contact 15 years earlier. The ship descended slowly, giving every human on Earth time to watch and understand that this was not an invasion, but a homecoming. And then, after 15 years of absence, David and Emma Martinez stepped out onto Earth soil. They had aged, but slowly, appearing perhaps 5 years older than when they'd vanished, despite having been gone for 15 years. They wore clothing that seemed to be woven from starlight itself, and their eyes held the wisdom of beings who had seen wonders beyond human imagination. But most importantly, they still moved together with the unconscious coordination of a father and daughter who had faced the universe's greatest mysteries as a team. "We're home," Emma said, her voice carrying across the desert through translation technology that made her words comprehensible to every human on Earth, regardless of language. "And we've brought friends." David smiled, and for a moment he looked exactly like the father who had taken his daughter camping to watch meteors. "We didn't accomplish anything alone. Every step of our journey was possible because we carried Earth's curiosity and love with us. The beings we met weren't interested in our technology or our resources. They were interested in our potential for growth and our capacity for love." Emma nodded, opening her advanced journal to pages filled with star charts and technical diagrams that represented 15 years of cosmic education. "The universe is full of species that developed intelligence, but many of them lost their capacity for wonder and emotional connection. Humans are rare because we've maintained both our scientific curiosity and our ability to love across impossible distances." Over the following weeks, David and Emma served as liaisons between Earth and the Galactic diplomatic mission. They helped establish protocols for technology transfer, cultural exchange, and the gradual integration of humanity into the broader cosmic community. The technologies they brought back revolutionized human civilization almost overnight. Clean energy systems eliminated pollution and resource scarcity. Medical advances extended human lifespan and eliminated most diseases. The Joshua Tree site, where their journey began, became Earth's permanent embassy to galactic civilization. The original campsite was preserved exactly as they'd left it, with David's telescope still pointing toward the stars, now serving as a monument to human curiosity and the father-daughter bond that had opened the cosmos to Earth. But perhaps most remarkably, David and Emma continued to be simply father and daughter. Despite their cosmic credentials and their roles as Earth's primary ambassadors to galactic civilization, they still enjoyed camping together under desert skies, sharing their love of astronomy and their wonder at the universe's infinite possibilities. "Some things never change," Emma told a documentary filmmaker 1 year after their return. "No matter how far we travel or how much we learn, we're still the same father and daughter who loved looking at stars together. That's what made us good ambassadors. We never forgot that love and curiosity are the most important qualifications for exploring the universe." Today, David and Emma continue their work as Earth's cosmic ambassadors, while maintaining their roles as teacher and student, father and daughter, and partners in the greatest adventure any humans have ever undertaken. Their story proves that some bonds are strong enough to survive any distance, any challenge, and any transformation. They went to the stars as father and daughter, became ambassadors to galactic civilization, and returned home with the universe as their extended family. But they never stopped being the same two people who loved each other enough to face the infinite cosmos together. And every year, on the anniversary of their first contact, something magical happens at Joshua Tree. The night sky fills with gentle lights that pulse in the same colors David and Emma first observed through their telescope, reminding everyone that love transcends all boundaries. The telescope still points toward the stars, waiting for the next father and daughter who will look up at the night sky and wonder what lies beyond the edge of human understanding. But as the anniversary lights fade each year, deep space monitoring stations detect new signals from distant galaxies, coordinates for remote locations where other families are about to make contact. David and Emma's journey was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, another parent is planning a camping trip with their child, not knowing they're about to become humanity's next cosmic ambassadors.